So, England reached the final of the European Championships for the second successive time, and it's the first final the men's team will have played on foreign soil. After a 2-1 win against the Dutch last night and an amazing late goal from Ollie Watkins, sealing the deal and making sure we didn't have to have extra time again, thank God. I thought England in the first half were easily the best they've played in the tournament, really progressive, played some good football. But let's go through things in order. Um, it's soul destroying to concede an early goal. We're often the ones in these big occasions that score an early goal and then can't hang on to it. But to concede one so early is obviously puts you on the back foot. It's really difficult to overturn a deficit in tournament football against a good team, which Holland are a good team. The goal itself, obviously, Rice made a bit of an error, got caught on the ball, and I think Pickford could do better. I don't think it's a howler. If you look at the position of his feet, his starting position, I don't think was particularly good. He got a touch to it, it wasn't in the top corner, and I think that's the difference between world-class goalkeepers and just really good goalkeepers. And he's never let England down, and he didn't let England down last night, but I thought that was one that a truly great goalkeeper probably saves. But England didn't panic, and that's been a feature of the last couple of games in particular. We built a performance. We grew into the game as the half wore on. We got some luck with a penalty, let's face it. I mean, at first glance, I shouted penalty, and then I saw the replay from different angles and thought, oh, that's not a penalty. It's just Harry Kane's kicked Dumfries' foot just as much as Dumfries has caught Harry Kane. And then I looked at the angle that the referee was looking at it on the monitor, looking at that angle, and I thought, I think he's going to give it. And obviously, thank God he did. It's not a penalty. But, do you know what? I don't care. How many times have England been robbed by poor officiating, disallowed goals? Lampard's goal, 2 yards over the line, 2 goals that Sol Campbell scored at key times in knockout games that were ruled to have been a foul in the build-up to it. Maradona's hand of God, sending offs that are dubious at best. There's a catalogue of them, so I really do not care one bit that it shouldn't have been a penalty, but it shouldn't have been a penalty. Kane obviously put it away nicely, and then I thought we saw the best football we've seen from England in the tournament for the next 20 minutes after that. It was progressive, it was common sense football, but it was good to see players looking to pass forward, good movement, dynamism, starting higher up the pitch. Kyle Walker, who was supposed to be the third centre-back at times, was overlapping Saka and getting beyond Saka. Mainu pulling the strings. What a player, what a young player we've got on our hands with him. Phil Foden, tremendous. Very unlucky not to score with a shot from distance, and obviously the one that was cleared off the line as well. Great feet in the build-up to that. And a performance where England dominated. Great to see. Holland changed things to negate that, and I think, without wanting to criticise Southgate, the day after we've just reached a major final again, I'll come back to him later. I think it showed his tactical inflexibility in that when Holland changed it, I didn't see England able to respond to that and continue to dominate. We retreated, we went back to just passing the ball sideways and backwards. We kept control of the ball well, which is a feature of the game last night and against Switzerland, which we didn't do against Slovakia or Slovenia. But we weren't really going anywhere with it. We'd stopped making some of those runs, and when runs were being made, I noticed Bellingham in particular was just taking an extra touch, taking too many touches, and there was a couple of times someone had made a dart in behind or tried to make a dynamic run, and if you hesitate, it's gone, the chance is gone. And I thought that was a feature of Bellingham's game last night. I thought he held onto the ball too long on several occasions. But cometh the hour, cometh Ollie Watkins, and we withstood some pressure, which was good to see us being able to do that. We did well at defending when Holland had a bit of a period of on top. And then the magic moment. Credit Southgate for making the sub early enough for it to make an impact. And it's really simple, isn't it? It's a striker making a run in behind. And there's two schools of thought here. I feel like I say that a lot. But you could say, well, why don't they just start Watkins? who will have been running in behind time after time after time after time, and give the Netherlands something to think about from minute one. There's that. But then there's the other school of thought that says, well, maybe Kane's influence on the team, maybe his leadership, maybe the fact he's a role model, maybe him being there occupies the Dutch and they get tired, and you bring on a player like Watkins and he can be explosive. I subscribe probably more to the former. I think that Watkins, there's a shout for him or Tony to start ahead of Kane, but it's just not going to happen, whether I think that or not. And I think Southgate's logic is more the latter of those two options, those two schools of thought. But the finish, the touch in the finish, he's got no right to even shoot from that angle, and the keeper's not made a mistake there. That's just a phenomenal finish. Ian Wright was in the studio, and I think Mark Pugash said to him, "Did it remind you of you?" And I'm glad he brought it up, because I thought that was a proper Ian Wright type goal, and I seem to remember Wright scoring off the bench against United in the FA Cup final in 1990, and I'm sure he scored two. I'm sure one of them was quite similar to that, if I remember rightly. No pun intended. It's a ridiculous goal, and obviously it's one of the last kicks of the game, 90th minute, and we'd already had two lots of extra time, and the players looked knackered. Bellingham, Rice in particular, looked really, really tired. Saka looked like he was tiring. You don't need another half an hour. So as much as it was joyous because it was the last minute, I think logistically it was also important for us to not have to play another extra time if it's all possible, because you go into the Spain game with one less day to recover and you've played three lots of extra time, as well as being underdogs, which I think we are. That's a big ask. So that's my assessment of the game. In terms of the bigger picture, you've got to give massive credit to the team and to Southgate in that they've faced adversity in this competition. You can say, well, they shouldn't have had to, with given the run that we've had in terms of opposition. However, they have. They've been behind against Slovakia with no time left. Bellingham scores that goal, we score again, and we win the game. So we've come from behind. Switzerland scoring the 75th minute. It's late doors in a knockout game. We score 5 minutes later. We win on penalties. Last night we concede early. Again, difficult to be behind in such a big match. We navigate our way through. So we've come from behind 3 times out of 3 and got the result. It's not easy in tournament football to overturn a deficit. And I think it shows great character. I think maybe more so in the Slovakia and the Switzerland game, it's been about moments. It's been about key players stepping up at the right time. I think last night was more about the collective, and that was good to see. And it was good to see us being brave, as I called for in my video. I wanted us to be brave. I wanted us to play on the front foot. I wanted us to be proactive. I wanted the players to use their nous, to use their common sense, to use the qualities they've got that have got them to the stage that they're playing at. Not the semi-final. I mean, playing for England. That, you know, like, they're playing for England because of what they do for their clubs. So go and do that in these games, and they did. And it wasn't brilliant, but it was enough. And we're there. We're in the final. I did notice at the end of the game, I think obviously it was great scenes and fantastic that they were sharing it with the supporters. But if you compare that to 2021 when we beat Denmark at Wembley, I think again I've got that in my mind that Southgate just wants to leave something in the tank. It was nice to see them celebrating, but I think it was more measured. Now, of course, 3 years ago it was at Wembley for a start, and it was the first final we'd reached since 1966. This isn't a first anymore. Dare I say it, we're becoming accustomed to being in the latter stages of competitions. And that brings me to my final point. Whether you love, loathe, or you're somewhere in the middle, Gareth Southgate, you've got to give him huge credit, because the guy gets us to the end of tournaments. And you can say until you're blue in the face, but look at the runs he's had. I don't care. In 50 odd years, we reached 2 semi-finals. We've reached 2 finals out of 3 tournaments. And we've had to play a lot of football to do it. You used to get out the group in the European Championships and you'd be straight into the quarter-final. So, is it always pretty? No. Is it the way I would want us to play? No. Could another manager maybe get more out of these players? That's speculative, I don't know. And what manager would come and manage England who's going to get more out of those players? I'm not sure. Certainly no English manager that's out there. But I look at what he's given me, and he's made me fall in love with England again. And that's from 2018 I'm talking about, not necessarily in this tournament. This tournament's been a bit of a bore at times. But 2018, I watched a team that wanted to play for their country. in 2021, it meant something for us to go all the way to the final. And when I hear him talk about he wanted to come and improve English football and he wanted to give the country nights to remember, he means it. And he's not perfect. He's not everybody's cup of tea. But he's in the final again. And at the start of the tournament, I'd have taken that every day of the week. So I'm proud. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of our country. And Sunday's a massive game, of course. State the obvious, why don't I? And I'll do a preview of that in the next couple of days. Spain, massive favourites. It's a big ask, but we've got there. It'll be a night hopefully that we can remember and that we can enjoy, and a night for the whole country to get behind the boys, because finally, maybe, it's coming home.